Hi, gang, it's Adam.
And Patrick.
Coming up on today's episode, we share our review of the Disney Plus original, Better Nate Than Ever. As always, we discuss the latest Disney news. Can't imagine what we'll possibly talk about in that segment. And we close out the show with some quick D. All that and more on today's episode of Gays Do the D.
To all who come to this happy place, welcome.
Oh my gosh, it's Patrick Find the Light Kazuki.
Oh, I'm always in my light. Adam, places please, Hummel.
I'm ready to go. Let's start the show. Here we are, Patrick, recording another episode of Gays Do the D.
That's right, two crazy kids. Their dad has a barn. We're putting on a show.
We got our dance belts on. We're ready to do some high kicks, some barrel rolls.
I do often wear a dance belt, just for fun.
Always, always. It provides a level of protection you don't normally get from undergarments.
It's true, and I need protecting, Adam. I need protecting.
Patrick, how are you doing?
I am wonderful, Adam. It has been raining for 37 years here in Minneapolis, Minnesota. A little hail today, but I love the rain. I do love the rain.
You know, there's nothing... I'm sure. I mean, I don't want to put words in their mouths, but there's nothing our tweeters love more than when we begin with the weather report.
Yeah, that's what they're here for, I think.
And nothing ages us more either. I mean, just to give you an idea, Tweedles, when we started recording, we did in fact talk about the weather. So that's where we're at in our lives.
That's right. And it was such an interesting conversation. I simply had to talk about it here on the podcast as well.
Well, it's all about sharing our lives, Patrick, sharing our lives, sharing our passion for Disney, and sharing our time with our Tweedles.
Truer words. Truer words. Adam, however, are you?
I'm doing very well, thank you for asking, Patrick. I'm just itching, Patrick, and not because of spring allergies. I'm itching to get out in my yard. Now that I have a yard, I think I'm kind of developing a green thumb, Patrick.
Oh, there's an ointment for that, I think.
I will obtain a prescription immediately, and I'm also becoming good at gardening, yes.
Oh, good. I'm glad to hear it. What are you going to be gardening this year, Adam? The folks want to know.
Right now, it's all about killing the plants that someone had previously planted.
Get rid of the garbage plants. They know what they did. That's
right. And then putting in the much prettier plants that I like.
It's like the gay community, really. It's a real... It's what we do.
The plants that are here now are kind of old. I don't think they're very good looking, but I'm going to bring in some much younger, more attractive plants.
Good. That's all we need. That's all we need in life.
Well, Patrick, we have a jam-packed episode to get to, and let's start with a shout-out, shall we?
I love a shout-out. Shout out at me, Adam.
I'll shout out at you. I'll shout out at My Magical Holiday on Instagram. They just found us, and they love us, Patrick. We don't normally, like to share praise, but we're doing it. We're doing it today.
And also keep it coming, because we will keep talking about it. We absolutely will.
Great point. The more you praise us, the more we'll share it. They say they love the podcast. They love our energy. I think you're talking about another podcast. And they also say, I'm truly enjoying binging episodes.
Ooh, how many episodes a day can one listen to of Gays Do the D?
Oh, we once received a message from a Tweedle, and I apologize for not knowing who it is, but they sent us a message, and they were on a road trip, and they binged us the entire road trip. Can you imagine the mania in their brains after that experience?
I can, and I'm here for it. That's all I want to do is listen to my voice all day long.
Really like to get inside people's heads, don't you?
I really do. It's all about the mind games. Well, thank you, My Magical Holiday, for giving us a shout out, and hopefully you enjoyed your shout out in return.
Moving on, we got some letters in the mail. Trick.
They were posted directly to us?
That's right. They were posted to our P.O. box. Just kidding. We don't have a P.O. box. We got an email and we got an Instagram message. Let's start with the email from Joe. And Patrick, I think you might know Joe.
I do know Joe. Hey, Joe, what do you know?
Joe says, hi, Patrick and Adam. I love your podcast. Oh, there we go again. I'm blushing, Joe. You guys are both fantastic. I love listening to what the parks are like now, since I haven't been to Disney since 2000. I have wanted to take my kids, Katie and Connor, forever. So I finally got myself a Disney travel planner and have a trip planned for late this year. Even better, yesterday I was listening to episode 168, The Current Normal, it's the title of the episode, from last fall with Chris from Wishful Thinking. It was such a good episode. I couldn't have loved Chris more. He just knows so much about Disney World and is so enthusiastic. Hard not to like. So guess what? I contacted him and he's my new travel planner. You are both so creative and funny. You bring joy to my heart. I am so excited about my trip and plan on making sure I catch up on every episode I missed during the pandemic. Love you both. Joe, Patrick's extended family cousin-in-law.
Sorry about it, everybody. That's right. She is Dan's cousin, I believe, or I don't know how all of the family tree roots match up. It gets very confusing. But what a great family. I'm so glad that you're listening, and I'm so glad you found Chris. He has been gossiping about all the things that you've been doing wrong. I'm just kidding. He absolutely adores you. Thank you so much for reaching out to Chris.
Yes, thank you for doing that. And folks, if you want to take advantage of Chris's fee-free services, you can find him online at wishful-thinking.com.
Fee-free services. Reach out to him immediately, everybody. And speaking of reaching out, we also got an Instagram note from John on Instagram at John the Water saying, hi, Adam and Patrick. Hi, John. I am coming back to Florida in a couple of weeks. My AP expired whilst I have been away, and I am not keen on the new prices, so I am only going to the parks for a few days. What would be your top restaurant to book at Epcot right now if you were only going to the park once on a trip? I was thinking about Space 220 as I haven't been yet, but I can't seem to find any availability. Thumbs down emoji.
Great question, John. Patrick, where are we dining in Epcot?
There's so many places. I really fell in love with I think it's called the Spice Road Market, or is it called Spice Road? Spice Road Table. Thank you so much for correcting me. In Morocco. It's such good food. If you don't like that kind of food, then don't go there, I guess. But I fell in love with it.
Delicious, delicious food. So fresh, so light. Like, you're not going to leave there feeling absolutely stuffed unless, of course, you want to.
Yeah, you certainly can stuff yourself on like a lamb kebab if you need to.
Excellent choice, Patrick. You know, Epcot has so much to offer that you really can just walk and snack, dine and ditch. No, that's not what I wanted to say, but you can just, kind of work your way around that World Showcase and sample a lot of things. Or maybe you want to try out the new crêperie in France.
Oh, yeah, good idea. Those are very delicious. Also, if you're looking for something just kind of casual but fun, go ahead and get yourself a seat at the Garden Grill.
The Garden Grill, the new Connections Cafe just soft opened, so that'll be an option for you too, John.
So many options. Let us know what you choose, John.
Please do just that. Well, thank you, Joe and John. Oh, so alliterative. I love it.
Delicious, delicious.
You know, Patrick, a little birdie hopped in my window yesterday and told me that you had quite the situation when attempting to register for an upcoming Run Disney event. And also the show notes told me that, too.
Very true. Was that birdie named Twitter? Because Twitter was flooded with reads at Disney. I'll tell you what.
Way to keep it topical, PK.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Yeah, everyone who has been trying to register for the January marathon weekend knows what I'm talking about. It was a disaster, a capital D-I-S, disaster. As everyone knows, Disney is not necessarily known for their online platforms and services. So when billions and billions of people are trying to register at the same time, things don't go as smoothly as expected. But shouldn't they be expected by now? Who can say? Anyways, so let me just run by real quick what happened last Tuesday. So the registration opened for as I said, the January marathon weekend, which is incidentally the 30th anniversary. So I think there was just a lot of excitement about it. Registration, I'll use Central Time because that's where I am, opened at 9 a.m. and immediately shut down the website. So everyone was just sitting there looking at a blank page, and some people had the seven dwarves saying, "We'll be right back. We're trying to fix it." For about 2 hours, I believe the website was down. Disney accidentally had some Twitter announcements that were pre-released that went out saying, "Hey, the website's up and we're ready to get you all registered." And we're all just like, no, it isn't. It is not up. We're all stuck right now looking at a page trying to get into the marathon weekend. All in all, it was a hilarious disaster. A lot of people were upset. A lot of people found humor in it, which is kind of the way I went. And a little bit of anger. Like, it was like, come on, Disney. This is a work day at 9 a.m. that we are waiting, looking at a screen. Hopefully my boss isn't listening to me right now. I was totally working during that time. Don't worry about it. But then also the entire weekend sold out basically instantaneously, which I don't think it's ever done. Every single race is now sold out for the January marathon weekend. I imagine more slots will open up later, so keep looking if you didn't get a spot this time around. But boy, oh boy, what a roller coaster of a day that was.
But did you get registered?
I did. Thank you so much for asking. I registered for the marathon for January 2023.
Here we go, folks. Patrick's first marathon?
First marathon. The first marathon I was going to do was in 2021, and we all know what happened then.
No clue.
A little thing called coronavirus shut down the world.
Well, I'm so excited for you. Do you feel any apprehension? Do you feel like this is your moment? You're ready for this? Where are you at mentally and emotionally?
Throwing up a lot, I think, is where I'm at right now, and regretting a lot of decisions. It's really like I went to the bar last night or something. I'm just lots of regret.
There's no better way to train for a marathon than going to a bar, Patrick.
That's what I've found. That's definitely what I've found. No, I'm feeling okay. I'm feeling ready to train, and then we'll see what happens come January.
And when does training begin for you, or have you already begun?
I'm already sort of like loosely training, but I'll start amping it up in like a month, maybe. I'll start really focusing in on it.
Well, Tweedles, we would love to hear from you and hear about your registration frustration. How about that?
I love it. Yeah, tell us what your experience was and let us know what races you're going to be running.
And while you're reaching out to us, Patrick will run his cute little legs right into This Week in Disney History.
My adorable short legs. Here we go. This week in Disney history, everybody. Let's start with a birthday. I love talking about my legs. It's my favorite thing to do. 72 years ago, Adam, on April 27th, 1950, animator, film producer, and musician Randy Fulmer was born in Richland, Washington. Fulmer was originally hired on a 3-month contract in 1987 to animate Toontown in Who Framed Roger Rabbit. He ended up staying with Disney for another 18 years. Credits include effects animator for Oliver and Company and The Little Mermaid, effects supervisor for The Rescuers Down Under, visual effects supervisor for Beauty and the Beast, artistic coordinator for The Lion King and The Hunchback of Notre Dame, and producer for The Emperor's New Groove and Chicken Little.
Talk about a temp job turning into a perm position.
Talk about climbing that ladder over and over again as well.
I'd love to know what that feels like someday, but I just am not motivated.
I just don't have the upper body strength for it, you know?
Yeah, but you got those cute little legs.
I'll just hop up those rungs. That's what I'll do.
You'll be like, what, these calves?
Oh, I hate this conversation. Moving on. 83 years ago, on April 29th, 1939, the premiere run of Disney's first feature-length animated film, Snow White and the Seven Dwarfs, finally comes to an end. Adam, any guesses on how long this movie was in theaters?
Oh, that's a really good question. I would imagine, I'm going to say 8.5 months.
Ooh, you were very wrong. It was in the theaters for 15 months. It premiered in December 1937 and officially started running in American markets in January 1938.
What did people really have to do with their lives back then? Nothing. So they decided to go see Snow White and the Seven Dwarfs over and over again.
That's right. There was nothing going on in 1938.
Nope. A very quiet time in the world's
right.
history.
Oh, just like today. Just like today.
I am suddenly feeling very sad, Patrick. Oh, things just got so real on this podcast.
It did. Let's just keep it down for the rest of the episode. What do you say? Let's get political today.
Well, we're going to kind of do it, but we'll wait just a tick longer, shall we? And we'll talk about the trailer for Thor: Love and Thunder, which premiered last week.
Let's do just that, Adam. Thoughts, opinions?
First of all, it stars my lover, Chris Hemsworth, who is looking fantastic as ever.
Finally, I would say.
We've got Taika Waititi at the helm. We're in for a wild ride. It looks very fantasy-driven, and I'm very excited for that. You know, we're reaching this era of Marvel films that are getting kind of weird. Marvel's films, Marvel series, all of it is getting kind of weird, right? Mm-hmm. And if there's one franchise within Marvel that can really handle the weirdness, I feel like it's Thor.
It is indeed. Yeah, I think we're in for a real treat here, a real comic treat, I would say.
Mm-hmm.
And I think there's going to be a lot of surprises along the way as well.
Right, because this is after Doctor Strange in the Multiverse of Madness. Mm-hmm. So I'm assuming that the multiverse will come into play in a very big way in the plot of the film.
One would imagine. The trailer was a good trailer. You know me. I love a trailer soundtrack, and this one is not disappointing me. But it didn't leave me really understanding what the movie's about still. And it comes out in just a few short months, so I'm interested in exploring what they're hiding from us right now.
I'm getting a bit of a road trip or buddy comedy feeling, and then of course we have the return of one Miss Natalie Portman.
We do indeed. Very excited about that.
So Thor: Love and Thunder comes out later this summer, July 2022, after Doctor Strange in the Multiverse of Madness, which it just so happens will be the feature segment. Our spoiler-free review will be the feature segment of our very next episode.
We're reviewing 2 movies in a row, Adam. What's gotten into us?
I'll tell you, summer movie fever.
I've got a fever for more movies.
And do you know what else I have a fever for, Patrick?
Politics?
A serious political discussion.
Stay tuned, folks. The news is next. Well, Tweedles, much like a few weeks ago, we are approaching the news a little differently this time around because, as many of you may know, jolly old Saint Ron DeSantis Claus has done it again and given us the gift of pure hatred.
Wow, I was really wondering how you were going to lead us into this segment, and you have delivered, my friend.
Thank you so much. How do we even do this again? Should we recap where we were and talk about where we are now? How do you want to handle this, Adam?
Absolutely. We need a recap. We need to remind everybody how we got to the place where we're at. And then I think we should talk about what could possibly happen going forward.
Oh dear. Okay, so Adam, tell our Tweedles what happened last time. What did they miss last time on Gaze of Our Lives?
Oh God, where do I even start, Patrick? Okay, so here's where we're at. Let me just say this. Let me start with this. Okay, so last Thursday, the Republican-led Florida legislature passed a bill seeking to dissolve the Reedy Creek Improvement District, which, as you mentioned, Governor Ron DeSantis backed and has now signed into law. So it's a law now.
It's happened. It's happened, everybody.
And the dissolution of the Reedy Creek District will occur on June 1st, 2023, barring any legal action. And all of this is in response to Disney's denouncement of Florida's House Bill 1557, the Parental Rights and Education Law, or the Don't Say Gay law, which limits early education teachings on sexual orientation or gender identity. So basically, Ron DeSantis got himself in a little snit, didn't he, Patrick? And he decided to punish Disney for their denouncement of that bill by dissolving the Reedy Creek Improvement District.
That's right. From the Republicans' point of view, they do want Disney to get involved when they need their money, but they don't want Disney to get involved when they disagree with what they're doing with said money. And so, because of that, as you said, they are now punishing Disney, or trying to punish Disney, by taking away something that has been in effect since, 1964, 63?
1967.
1967, thank you for that correction. Which one can't really prove, but it's clearly what's happening is that this is retaliatory bill passing, basically.
I love that you are giving us an insight into the Republican mindset, Patrick, because no one understands Republican minds better than you.
This is true. I'm really in there. I'm really in the weeds. I'm the frog on the spot reporter for Gays Do the D.
For those that don't know, the Reedy Creek Improvement District allowed Disney to develop the infrastructure it needed for Walt Disney World, right? So we're talking about the roads it needed to build and the hotels and the general municipal improvements it needs to make. So basically, Disney has had its own kind of little government, its own kind of little county within Walt Disney World, separate from Orange and Osceola counties in Florida, which it kind of butts up against.
That's right. And what does that all mean? It basically means Disney doesn't have to go to the state of Florida to do things like road construction or getting building permits. They still have to follow the law, obviously, and all the safety measures that come with that, but they don't have to deal with all of that red tape, which really benefits Florida and Disney at the same time, because all of that tax burden isn't put on the citizens, it's put solely on Disney.
Funny you should bring up tax burden, Patrick.
Isn't it just hilarious?
Because Disney pays the same local property taxes as every other landowner does. And then on top of that, Reedy Creek added its own tax to pay for its projects. And that tax, which is $163 million per year, is illegal outside of the district. So basically, once the district is dissolved, someone needs to absorb those tax payments.
That $163 million tax then becomes a debt, basically, to whoever now is running that district.
Added to the bond debt, which Disney has accumulated, which is more than $1 billion.
Oh, the hits just keep coming. The hits just keep coming. And all of this seems to have flown over the heads of the Republican government who passed this bill, because they have currently no plan for who is going to be responsible for this, but we all know who's going to be responsible for this. It's actually the citizens of those two counties, Osceola and Orange County in Florida.
That's right. It's believed that property taxes will increase 20 to 25%. Definitely in Orange County. We don't know for sure, have like the final numbers in Osceola, but they will also be essentially making up for the tax payments that Disney's no longer required to make.
And the math has been done that even with that increase of 25%, which I believe is as high as they can go, still won't pay off that amount of debt.
So this is a years-long problem that the Republican legislature and Ron DeSantis have created for Florida, but specifically Orange and Osceola counties. And then aside from that, the downside for Disney is that their processes will be slowed down probably significantly, because they will now have to reach out to the counties to obtain the permits they need and to rely on the counties for road improvements and other municipal enhancements.
That's right. They will still own all of that property that was purchased way back then. That's not going to the government. They still own that property. But interestingly, they are now no longer liable for the taxes in that area. All of the citizens who live there are now responsible for the taxes. But as you said, yeah, basically the only real downside that we have been notified as of yet is that it's going to take a little longer. Disney will now operate more like Universal Studios when it comes to making improvements to its own property.
And, you know, as we're talking about these two counties, as I alluded to, Orange County tends to be a little bit more wealthy. Osceola County is much smaller and less wealthy and is home to a lot of Disney employees. So they will now essentially be paying the taxes that their employer once paid.
That is exactly correct. I don't mean to sort of make light of that with my little giggle there, but it's all such a crazy mess that is the result of a government who has a bad taste in their mouth because someone told them that they don't like what they're doing. And so they decided to punish, not really Disney, they decided to punish the citizens of their own state.
They did. They did do just that, Patrick. So let's talk about the legal battle because we are legal experts here on Gays Do the D.
Yes, we are. Let me put my lawyer glasses on.
All lawyers wear glasses. I'm glad you brought yours today, Patrick. So we assume there's going to be some kind of legal battle, but there's a lot of confusion as to what rights the government has, despite the fact that what they've done is legal, is considered legal, the dissolution of the Reedy Creek Improvement District. What rights the government has, what legal rights Disney has. Patrick, what are your thoughts? What tactic are lawyers going to take in their defense of Disney?
As part of Disney's legal team, Adam, I'm here to tell I don't really know. I've, as you have, and I imagine a lot of our tweeters have been doing a lot of reading on this and speculating and getting updates because things seem to be changing by the minute. It doesn't sound like Disney is sweating too much over this. It looks as though they're just going, okay, that sucks for a lot of our employees and a lot of the citizens of Florida, but it doesn't really hurt us. And it doesn't sound like there's much they can do. Originally, there was hope in that in order to dissolve a district like the Reedy Creek Improvement District, the population of that district had to actually vote to dissolve themselves. However, the way that it was built, it was actually bestowed upon them. They didn't vote to build it themselves. And so there's a lot of confusion back and forth. So it doesn't seem like that's a tactic they can take anymore. So it sounds like this is a go. It sounds like unless the government of Florida sees the error of their ways and backtracks what they did, this is going to happen in June 2023.
Which, I don't know. Is that giving the Republican legislature a lot of credit? Like, are they going to realize their dumb mistake? And are they going to have the moral fortitude to say that they were wrong and pull back this huge error that they made?
No, Adam. They're not.
There you are, again, right in those Republicans' minds. You know, Patrick.
I do indeed. So I guess a lot of negotiations are going to have to happen now to figure out who is responsible for this debt. My hunch tells me that the government is going to try to pin it back on Disney to pay for this debt, but that just isn't in the cards legally, for as far as I know. So I'm really interested to see how all of this plays out, and I'm really disheartened by the reasoning for all of this. The reason that it happened is because Governor DeSantis doesn't like gay people, basically, if you really want to boil it all down to that. And everyone is going to be punished for this, not the people they intended to punish for it, which, I mean, no one should be punished for it. But the burden of this is going to fall on people who are maybe not going to be able to afford to live there anymore because of this.
It's going to greatly affect those that work for Disney, both in the parks and administratively. It's going to affect those who are supposedly going to be moving to Florida from California. That's going to cause a whole nother mess. It's going to cause a huge amount of red tape for Disney and for the local county's government because they have to figure out who's going to come up with some kind of plan to figure out who's going to be handling what in this dissolution. And on top of that, now we have businesses who may have been considering making a move to Florida thinking, do I really want to get involved with a government who may come at me if they don't like my politics? So it's just a huge mess. And Patrick, I really think it's going to take you and me to sort it out.
I think we're up to the task, that's for sure. Yeah, this very likely, if it all does go through, will have catastrophic implications financially to the state of Florida and all of its citizens. And I have to imagine Disney is probably reconsidering moving its employees to Florida because they're already in hot water with their employees as it is. And now they're going to make them move to a state where they can be punished and will likely not be able to afford the taxes of where they want to live now. It's a huge mess, and it all comes down to someone's feelings getting hurt.
I mean, you and I have really lashed out on occasion, Patrick, but we have never, on this scale, not once.
It's true. We have never taken down an entire county.
It's not funny.
It isn't. No. I mean, what else can you do at this point right now? Which I guess leads me to, what can we do right now, Adam? Is there anything what would you recommend any of our listeners do to stay informed or get involved?
continue listening to us because we are the authority when it comes to Disney news. But aside from that, I guess be as vocal as you can in any way you can about how disheartened you are by the actions of the Florida government. And if you live in Florida and are able to vote, obviously, you need to vote your little booty off to make sure that this Republican legislature is dwindled to the point of no voice whatsoever, because they clearly do not have the best interests of their constituents at heart.
Such a good point. Such a good point. That's absolutely true. Stay informed. Vote if you live there. And let's also not forget that this Don't Say Gay bill is still in effect. My worry is that it's going to get buried and that we're going to lose sight of dismantling that bill as well. So let's stay informed about that. Keep checking out equalityflorida.org to see how you can get involved there, because they are still fighting that fight on top of this new fight that Disney has to battle as well.
And if I may, Patrick, if I may be so bold, I would say, Disney, it's time for you to double down on your statement and to come out and ensure that, first of all, you are not backing down and that you are as steadfast as ever in your belief that the LGBTQ plus community needs support and love.
That's a great point. This is a really good time for corporations like Disney to draw a line in the sand and say, we are not going to be bullied out of our morals because you don't like what we have to say about it.
I know it may not seem like it, or maybe it does, but the reason that these Republicans are acting in this way is because they are literally on their heels, right? There is an overwhelming majority in this country that believes in love and believes in supporting the LGBTQ plus community and beyond. So it's time for us just to remain united and to find whatever way we can to support those that are fighting the good fight in Florida and in states around the country. We know this is happening, obviously, in more than just Florida. We need to remain steadfast and make sure that those who feel threatened by progress don't win.
Say that, Adam. Say gay and say that.
I know what you're all thinking, Tweedles. You're thinking, how? How could you not have talked about Better Nate Than Ever? You are a gay podcast. You are a Disney podcast. We have been waiting on pins and needles for your thoughts on this Disney Plus original. And all I can say is, listen, we had a trip report last episode, okay? Very important to cover Patrick's trip. But now is the time. We're going to talk about Better Nate Than Ever. And Patrick, before I start, I have to ask, did you see yourself in the main character, Nate, while watching Better Nate Than Ever?
Not at all, Adam. Not at all. Just kidding. No, yeah, 100%. This movie is about the movie that played in my mind when I was that age.
Anyone who was obsessed with theater or Broadway while they were a kid will find something to relate to in this film. But what I was actually referring to, Patrick, is this kid looks like you.
Oh, do you think?
All I see is a young Patrick when I watch this movie.
That's hilarious. I do not see that, but I appreciate it because, boy, that Ruby Wood is cute as a button.
Those big eyes, that optimistic attitude. I mean, that definitely has fallen away from you as you've aged. But the big eyes, the big, beautiful eyes are still there.
That sunken face I have now that's just dry and brittle and stale. Yeah, I'm not there anymore, Adam.
Well, before we go on any further, Tweedles, we should probably say this will be an actual review, not a spoiler-free review. You've had plenty of time to check it out on Disney+. We feel very comfortable in just spoiling the hell out of this movie for you if you have not seen it. No, but we will be sharing some details that may ruin things for you, although there's nothing that's like shockingly surprising in the movie, is there?
No, I don't think so. Well, I mean, only in that Disney gave us a gay movie. That was pretty shocking.
Disney did give us a gay movie.
So, spoiler. That's your first spoiler, everybody. This movie has some gay in it.
And for those of you that haven't seen it, you may be asking, well, just how gay is it? Well, let me tell you how gay it is. Here's the plot. 13-year-old Nate Foster fantasizes about becoming a big Broadway star. He and his best friend mastermind a daring trip to New York City to audition for Lilo and Stitch, the musical.
I mean, What's gayer than that, Adam? What's gayer than that?
Us, this podcast. Patrick, how did you feel watching this movie? Give me a sense of your overall opinion of it.
Well, I'll tell you, I've seen it twice now because I liked it so much. I instantly fell in love with this movie. I was texting you as I was watching it the first time saying, stop what you're doing. You have to watch this movie. It's amazing. I cried several times, both times I watched it. This movie just really tugs at your heart in such a joyful way. This movie is not sad in any way, at least not to me. It just was so relevant to the experience that I had and or wanted to have when I was Nate's age, if that makes any sense.
It totally makes sense. Yeah, it absolutely celebrates queer joy, right? Like when you see someone on screen who is a part of the community and represents so many of those people that we know and love and have those dreams of being a big star on Broadway or being involved in theater at all, it really does make you feel joyful to watch and kind of support their journey through the film.
Yeah, absolutely. I wish that this movie had been around when I was growing up because, boy, the representation on screen is so amazing and so endearing and so lovely to watch. And it's not even really about being gay. Like, this kid could have been anywhere on that spectrum. It didn't really matter. But the fact that Disney sort of doubled down and said, yes, this character is gay and we're going to show it and we're going to say it and we're going to let this kid be that was so inspiring and amazing to see. And it was just like a breath of fresh air. I sort of like relaxed while I was watching the movie because it was what I was looking for so long.
Well, they didn't say gay, but they said gay. Does that make sense?
Sure, yeah. I mean, the character didn't come out and say, I am homosexual, but it wasn't necessarily implied either. It was very clear that, that this kid does identify as being gay.
Yeah, and there wasn't any kind of like additional interest in his life. Like, in High School Musical, Zac Efron's character was also interested in sports, and that kind of gave him a pass to also be interested in theater. This kid is unabashedly so passionate about musicals and theater, and it's truly who he is. And so there was no kind of apology or subplot that softened that fact. Like, this kid is gay, he loves theater, we're on this journey with him.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, let's start digging in a little bit to who's responsible for this gay movie, Adam.
Tim Federle is very responsible for this gay movie.
Very, very responsible, in so much that he not only wrote the script, but also directed the film, and this movie is based off of the novel that he wrote.
That's right. He wrote it, he directed it, he executive produced it, and Tim Federle is the showrunner and executive producer of High School Musical, the series, which he also created for Disney+.
He did indeed, and he is the director for the upcoming movie Sister Act 3.
Is Tim Federle the new Kenny Ortega, Patrick? Your thoughts?
Sure, why not?
He is. He's the next generation Kenny Ortega. We have declared it, and so it shall be so.
I like it. We need a remake of Newsies, apparently.
New Newsies. Newsiers.
Nudesies.
Well,
maybe.
They're all of age now, so we get a pass.
This is true. Yep, absolutely that. Very, very that. So yeah, Tim Federle basically helmed this movie from soup to nuts, and I thought did an excellent job. I really loved the direction of this movie. I loved the script. I thought it was just so lighthearted. It didn't take itself too seriously. It didn't give us like a coming out moment or any of that. It just was what it was, and it was so full of positivity and positive energy that was so refreshing to see on screen.
I'm about 80% there. So, like, I liked the movie a lot. I really enjoyed watching it. I love the message behind it. I love the energy behind it. For me, the story, or maybe the script for the movie wasn't quite there. I did not read the book. And so I don't know if the book kind of differed greatly from the story of the movie or from the script for the movie. But I think maybe this film would have benefited just a smidge from having someone else maybe take a look at it and kind of clean things up just a little bit in the script that maybe needed some polishing, because there were some inconsistencies and some kind of clunkier moments, I thought. But overall, I thought it was just a really fun romp that, like 10-year-old Adam would have been all in on this movie. And 42-year-old Adam just found like things I need to nitpick on.
Fair. Yeah, I mean, is it a perfect movie? Absolutely not. But it was definitely a movie that, as an adult, I watched it, I imagine, very differently than a kid today watching it, right? I pulled out different things, and I think I was just so focused on falling in love with this kid's journey and falling in love with the fact that I felt seen watching this movie, if that makes sense.
Yeah, as I imagine so many people did, and hopefully a lot of kids did. It's so funny to think about where kids are today as opposed to where we were. And I know everybody's situation is so different, but to me, I get a sense that kids are much more open today and much more typically accepting. And so I hope that this movie doesn't come across as shocking to them. Like they're just like, oh, like this kid is like living his dream. Whereas, little gay Adam would have been like, that's my dream, but I can't fully express myself yet.
Yeah, I have to believe that a lot of kids won't even pick up on the fact that this kid is gay at all. You know what I mean? Like it just doesn't matter to the story. It's great and exciting to see as an adult to see that storyline happen, but it didn't matter, if that makes sense, in a great way.
Yeah, I really hope that's the case, Patrick. So we have a wildly talented cast we need to talk about. Who, this is a dumb question, who really stood out for you, Patrick, in this movie?
Norbert Leo Butz. I'm just kidding. But he was great, and it was fun to see him in the movie. But we'll talk about that in a second. I mean, we have to spend the majority of our time, I feel like, talking about this amazing, amazing person we have in Ruby Wood, the star of the movie.
His introduction to the world of film, he starred as Charlie in the national touring production of Charlie and the Chocolate Factory, but this was his first on-screen performance.
And boy, could I not tell. He was so good. He was so good in the movie, and I don't know if that was just part of direction or if he's just a natural talent, but I could not stop watching him and taking my eyes off him. If he was on screen, I was watching what he was doing.
Yeah, so talented and just like a natural screen presence, that kind of charisma. Patrick, how some theater performers have a hard time making the transition onto film. And this kid just seamlessly did that.
What if he was a nightmare to work with? I hope that's not the case.
Would not come out of his trailer before noon.
No, you're right. Yeah, a lot of you can sometimes tell when a theater performer goes into a movie and the transition just isn't quite there, but this was just a flawless performance. I believed everything he was doing and thinking. It felt like we were just watching a documentary about his life, basically.
And if you weren't this kid, you knew this kid, right? Like if you didn't grow up as this kid, you definitely had this kid somewhere in your life at school or in your family, that really passionate, sparkling theater gay.
Yeah, it's true. And characters like this, people like this in the world are what we need more of, I feel like. There's a time in our lives where we look at charismatic, positive people and go, ugh, that's just too much for me. But that's just, the more experience I get and the more I live on, the more I crave that, because it is genuine. You can see it in his eyes that his passion and his love for theater and his love for being alive is so genuine. And that is just, it's needed in the world right now.
I know, some of us haven't lost it, Patrick.
Some of us are still very jaded by what the world gave us.
All right, so Ruby Wood, a talent to watch. It's going to be very exciting to watch where his career goes, because this kid has to go to Broadway at some point in his life, right? We need to see the stage performance from him, and it will be fun to see where he goes on screen as well. And
his voice, we haven't even talked about his voice. I cannot stop listening to the soundtrack too, because when he opens his mouth to sing, it is like hearing an angel flap its wings at him. I get emotional when I hear him sing, because he's so good and alive and vibrant. It's incredible. It's not something I've seen in a long time.
Yeah, well, we'll see him on the other side of puberty, won't we?
I hope not. Stay where you are. Be like me. Don't change. Don't you dare grow an inch. Also, I want to encourage everyone to follow Ruby Wood on Instagram, because he is awesome. And look up the photos of his outfit for the premiere of Better Nate Than Ever. Oh, he's living his best life, and I'm here for it. I am absolutely here for it.
Yeah, it can only be described as fabulous. He looked fabulous at the premiere.
Yeah, he's a cool kid, a real cool kid. And it was inspiring to read some interviews that he gave about the movie as well, because he said that this movie sort of inspired him to really live his authentic and true self, which is kind of the message of the overall piece, I would say. And I'm so glad that is the case, because his authentic and true self is a thing of beauty to see.
Absolutely is. Let's talk about his cohort in the film, Aria Brooks, who plays his friend Libby.
I'm getting a Zendaya vibe from her, if that makes sense. That sort of that, like, just a gorgeous talent, but also sort of like rude and snippy and melodramatic. And I loved it. I really, really loved it. I don't know. I hate talking about kids' talents because they're so young. I don't know that she sort of rose to the full occasion as Ruby did in the movie, but I really enjoyed her in the film.
Okay, Aria, Patrick has notes for you, and
I've sent them along already. Don't worry. I've already DM'd her my thoughts.
Yes, he's already sent them to you. Please consider them in your next performance. I thought she was great. I get what you're saying, Patrick, right? But there are moments of like pure genius, that unaware performance from a kid where it's like she's almost an adult. Like her reactions were shocking to me in how mature they were and funny. But I get what you're saying too. There were moments where I was like, she's totally laughing. I can see her laughing in this moment right now.
Yeah. And they gave her some difficult lines to deal with too, because the character itself was a little bit more adult and sort of like, I'm trapped as a kid for the next 10 years and I already know what I want to do with my life. And that's a challenging role to play, I imagine. And she did wonderful. I really enjoyed their chemistry as well. The two of them together when they were on screen was magnetic, I thought.
I agree. And speaking of chemistry, let's talk about Joshua Bassett, who plays Nate's brother, Anthony.
Joshua Bassett, another High School, the musical, the series alum.
He is, and he's 21 years old. I just want to say that up front. He is 21.
Do you have a little crush on Joshua Bassett, Adam? Do you?
First of all, within the first 10 seconds of a movie when you have him shirtless coming out of the shower, that's rude.
Fair. It's just simply rude.
No, I mean, he's still very, very young. I get it. But in 5 to 10 years, this kid's going to be like a heartbreaker.
He's going to Efron all over the place.
He was great, I thought. He's obviously older than the two leads and has a lot more credits on his resume, but what a screen presence. I thought he was fantastic.
Yeah, I'll be very honest. When I first saw that he was going to be in the movie, I was a little hesitant. I don't love High School, the musical, the series. I maybe need to give it another chance. But it's just a vibe for me that I did not fall in love with that show. But that being said, he very much surprised me. He gave a really good performance. It was heartbreaking at times in such a good way. His relationship with his brother, I identified with it a lot, especially in the last scene. It was amazing. And so I thought he did a great job. And he had a hard job too. This is, he's not the lead character, but he's probably the more known actor in the movie for Disney audiences. So those are tough shoes to fill, and he did a great job.
I wasn't familiar with him before seeing this. I guess I didn't even know he was in High School, the musical, the series, the television show, the life. But I thought he was great. He was kind of dealt a harder blow with like some of the lines in the script. Like, I just felt like, he kind of was pigeonholed more into like the role of the big brother. Does that make sense? Like, it was a very like obvious kind of big brother type role. But then as the film went on, and he was able to kind of have more of an emotional journey, I thought he really delivered.
Yeah, absolutely. And what a relatable story for anyone who is, a gay kid with an older brother who does not follow the same journey that you do when it comes to your likes and dislikes and passions. It's a tricky situation to deal with. And I thought that they Disneyfied it a little bit, but it was something real to watch.
Totally agree, Patrick. And then we have a bunch of Broadway stars making cameos all over this movie.
We sure do. This movie is chock-a-block full of amazing singers and dancers who interestingly don't ever get to sing or dance in the movie, which is fine because the highlight needed to be on Ruby Wood as Nate, as being the talent in the movie. But it was fun to see these sort of winks to the Broadway that we had when we were growing up. You and I mean.
That's a great point. The older generation handing the torch, Patrick, to Ruby Wood and saying, "You run with it now."
If you've seen the film, you know that there are many references to Wicked, and to the untrained eye, you may wonder, why are they talking about Wicked so much? Well, that's because Nate's parents were both original actors in the Broadway show Wicked.
And humble brag, I saw them both in the show.
You did?
I did. Also, Mandy Gonzalez, who plays the director or the teacher who casts the show at the beginning of the movie, was also in Wicked at one time. A lot of Wicked representation in this movie.
A lot of Wicked talent.
Other Broadway stars popping up. We have Brooks Ashmanskas. Is that how you say his name? Do you know?
I think so. I think that's how you say it.
Who most recently appeared in The Prom and was Tony nominated for that role. And Priscilla Lopez, going way back, going old school, pops up in a cameo, and she was in the original cast of A Chorus Line.
Oh, I didn't know that. I knew who she was. I didn't know that she was in the original cast of A Chorus Line. Wow.
So fun little winks throughout the entire movie and fun little surprise appearances by Broadway stars that we know and love.
Going back to her, did she make a cameo in Center Stage, the movie Center Stage? Was she the choreographer?
She was, in fact, in Center Stage, yes.
That's right. She was a choreographer in the dance class that they took. That's hilarious. And then, of course, we have to talk about the Lisa Kudrow of it all.
We do need to talk about the Lisa Kudrow of it all, who plays Nate's estranged aunt and aspiring actor, Heidi.
Aunt Heidi. What a great role this was for Lisa Kudrow. I get a little hesitant sometimes. I love Lisa Kudrow. I'll say that right up front. But sometimes she doesn't fit into every single role that she's cast in. She just has a very unique quality to her that doesn't always work. But I really enjoyed watching her in this movie. I thought she did a great job.
I couldn't get past seeing Phoebe. I just couldn't do it.
Oh, no.
It was as if Phoebe had plucked Valerie Cherish's wig out of the closet and just kind of gave it a good shake and slapped it on her head.
Oh, no, I didn't feel that way at all, especially in that apartment scene where she's talking to Nate at night and they're just sort of laying there and sort of reconnecting. I just thought it was so heartfelt that I really loved it.
No, I get it. That scene for sure. I thought that was like her shining moment. But, actors bring their own personalities and like traits to roles all the time. But I just couldn't get past Phoebe. I couldn't get past Phoebe, Patrick. I tried.
That's fair. That is fair. Yeah, I mean, as I said, the sort of the Lisa Kudrow of it all. She just kind of is who she is when she is in a lot of things. She's just not playing herself, but she, as you said, is putting herself into the role. And so it is hard to separate. I understand that.
That's what happens when you have a wildly successful sitcom and are on it for 9 seasons.
It is. It is exactly what happens. I know that all too well. There was also a really fun sort of not blink and you miss it. It was a real moment that happened. But when Nate is on the streets singing on Broadway, kind of sort of panhandling for some money, at the very beginning of it, a man hands him a dime, as is in the song, and that man is one George Benson, who wrote the song on Broadway and performed it originally.
Did he write it too?
He did. He did write it.
So now the movie opens with that song. It's kind of a through line for the movie, and
yeah,
he gives his blessing and dime to little Nate.
He does. You said it earlier, and it's kind of an interesting, you're not wrong when you said it. You were sort of joking, but it was sort of like watching these amazing Broadway talents sort of hand the torch down to the next generation of talent that are up and coming. And it was just, all of that was just a big love letter to any kid, gay, straight, bi, what have you, who was a theater nerd growing up, or was theater adjacent, or was involved somehow in theater. This is a movie for them specifically.
Yeah, and a good reminder of how important theater is in our lives and how important Broadway is too. And it really made you kind of reflect back on what we've been through the past 2.5 years now, and how meaningful it is now to have these shows coming back and bringing these artists back to Broadway. It was just a great reminder of the importance of that institution in New York.
That's a really great point. It is so important, and it was so important to our lives, and it's so important, I think, generally to humanity to have the arts around, and that was very focused on for this movie.
So, Patrick, it sounds like you are full in on this movie. You loved it. You loved its message. You loved its cast. You loved everything about it. 10 out of 10 for you?
You know what? I'll say that. I will say 10 out of 10 for me. I know that the script wasn't 100% perfect. You know, I know that it wasn't a flawless movie. I just needed this movie so much that I absolutely fell in love with it. I want it to be a series after this. I want to see him go on and see what he does next. I would love to see it. I wouldn't be surprised if it happened because it's getting a lot of really good reviews and it's getting a lot of traction right now, which is good to see. And I also just really loved, I said it before, I really loved and latched onto just the positive vibe that this movie gave, right? There wasn't really a villain necessarily in the movie. There didn't need to be one. There wasn't necessarily like an overarching like feud with the parents or sibling rivalry necessarily. It was there, but it got resolved pretty quickly. And it just had a nice overall message. Anytime Nate did anything that was following his heart, it was always the right way to go. He wasn't ever punished for doing what he believed in and what he brought to the table and following who he was as a person. And that's such a good message that we all, I think, can take from this movie, is that be yourself and you know, not everything's going to work out like it does. It's a movie. It's true. But as long as you are yourself, then you have that dignity in yourself, which is such a good message.
Yeah, I agree. The message overall wins out in this movie and will, I hope, be something that the viewers can really latch on to and take with them and just remind themselves that while everyone may not support your passions or your choices in life, you absolutely need to hold on to what you believe in and really love and nurture that. Make sure that you hold on to that because it can be kind of stripped down from you as time goes on. Oh, I sound like a withered old man, Patrick. But it's fun to see this kid really live out his dream and ultimately be so supported by those he loves and kind of helping him lift him up and support him and then share in his achievements.
Yeah, it's a very like your tribe is out there somewhere and they will find you and you will find them. It may not be where you are currently, but they're out there somewhere. What about you? You seemed not quite as overenthusiastic as I was. Do you have notes? Like what would you like to see improved and what did you really like about the movie?
I really liked the movie. I will say that. I really loved, as you mentioned, just the joy behind it and how inspiring it was. And it's just fun to remind yourself of that kind of unbridled passion you had when you were a kid. And for us, it just happened to align with Nate's passion of theater. My only sticking point for the film was really just that I think someone else needed to come in and either write it or direct it. I think it kind of needed either someone else to kind of oversee it or kind of be the creative voice behind it. Because I think sometimes when people oversee so many top level aspects of a creative project, I think some things can kind of go unchecked or unnoticed when it comes to some of the smaller details of anything, be it a film or a book or a play or whatever. You know, there needs to be kind of like that second set of eyes giving it another look, making sure that everything is a bit more cohesive. And as I mentioned earlier, it was just basically small moments in the script for me that didn't really quite make sense. Like why Heidi even knew Nate when she had been separated from the family for so long. Like, how did she know that was Nate at the audition? You know, like stuff like that.
Yeah, for sure. There were some conveniences given in the plot. That's absolutely true.
Which happens in everything, right? Like in all creative projects, there's like things that you kind of have to forgive. But there were just a few too many of those ticks on my list where I was like, well, if they had just brought in someone else, it could have easily have been cleaned up and just been that much more tighter and successful of a film for me. I totally
see that. I don't want to get too political, obviously, but it's such an interesting time right now for this movie to be released, especially with what's going on in Florida and all over the country. And this movie, this is why we need to say gay. This is why those bills need to go away, because representation matters so much. And I said it before in the beginning of this segment that I wish this movie had been around when I was a kid, because I maybe would have had a little bit of a better time. I didn't have, a hard time, quote unquote, growing up, but it would have been easier had I had a movie like this as an ally, as it were.
Yeah, we should always be doing everything that we can to make sure that the next generation has things easier than we had it, right? And so it's important for us to support these kind of projects, to create these kind of projects, and to really be vocal about them, because it's the only way that we're going to eliminate creatures like Ron DeSantis from roaming the earth.
It's true. And hopefully Disney sees the traction that this movie is getting and the accolades that it's getting for what it is doing and says, okay, this is going to open the door for us to explore this world more, to explore having just openly open people. I mean, I'm going to say gay, like just letting people be themselves on screen and letting these stories happen is so important. And it doesn't have to be a political statement. We just need to be represented more and more authentically in movies like this.
Well, we would love to know your thoughts on Better Nate Than Ever. You can, of course, reach out to us on social media. We want that. We need it. We want to hear from you. You can do so by shooting us a message on Instagram, Facebook, or Twitter at GDTD Podcast.
Or leave us your thoughts in the form of a voice memo or an email at info@gaysdothed.com.
You know, Patrick, I commented on some of the inconsistencies I found in the script, some of the things I took issue with, but I failed to mention the one thing I completely found unbelievable in this movie, and that was the size of Lisa Kudrow's apartment in the movie.
Yeah, fair enough. If you're a cater waiter, you're not living in that apartment unless you're squatting. Maybe she was squatting.
I love how in the credit sequence she had to drop that it was rent controlled. So then I was like, okay, I guess true. now I believe it.
It's sort of the Friends treatment of how they are living in that enormous apartment. Rent control.
You got to explain it away, you know?
Hey, Adam.
Hey, Patrick.
Oh, it's time, Adam. It's time to do some D, but quickly.
Just get it over with. We all know it's a chore. No one likes doing it, but we're going to do it. We're going to do some quick D.
Do you think people listen to quick D, or do they just stop after the main segment?
You know, one way we could test that is by not doing it this week. Like, we could just stop the recording right now and just see how people respond.
Or put like a secret code word in there of like, text us Fuzzy Bunny if you are listening to this right now.
Yes, there needs to be a hidden clue in this segment. We will scream it out at any given moment. Get ready. Be listening for it.
That's right. It's going to be a scavenger hunt. We should do a scavenger hunt episode.
We really should do that.
Let me write that down. I'm right on top of that, Rose.
Adding the note to our show notes.
Oh, is that the delete button? That's weird. I guess we can't do it. All right. What do we do? Where are we? What am I right now? We are doing some quick D today,
yes.
Adam.
Yeah.
It's the end of our episode. We are not going to do classic D as per usual. We're going back to some Imagine Queering today, folks.
Fitting for this episode, dealing with a queer starring role in our feature segment. And so we're just going to keep it queer. We're going to keep it here.
Have no fear. We're keeping it queer, everybody. All right. I'm reaching into the head of Chewbacca. Oh, we should tell our folks, our Tweedles. I'm drunk with power, everybody. We should tell our Tweedles what Imagine Queering is. Adam, as I dig into Chewbacca's scalp, will you please tell our Tweedles what Imagine Queering is?
Well, you know how Disney parks have attractions and experiences, everybody? Ever heard of those? Well, what we do in Imagine Queering is we take one of those attractions or experiences and we gay it up. We zhuzh it up. We make it even more gay than it could ever possibly be. And all of the attractions and experiences are in a Chewbacca mug that Patrick received as part of a dessert experience at Disney's Hollywood Studios. And he's going to draw one of the names out, and whatever comes out, we're making it gay.
That was far more information than I anticipated, but I appreciate your dedication. All right, here we go. We are Imagine Queering the attraction in Adam's favorite land, Dinosaur.
Oh, God. It's Dinosaur. Okay.
I think right away we add more Felicia Rashad. That makes it pretty gay.
Life needs more Felicia Rashad, but definitely that attraction needs more Felicia Rashad.
100% that. Maybe we bring her sister into the mix, Debbie Allen.
Let's do it. Fame. I was going to say famed, but also fame choreographer and star of the television series. Debbie Allen. Let's bring her in.
Let's bring her in. Let's throw her in there, throw her in the mix. It's going to be a dance competition through history.
Yep. I love this idea already, Patrick. You've hit the nail on the head. If there's one thing that Disney World needs more of, it's attractions that are edutainment, and we need more movement. We need to explore the space, you know?
We do. We need more hitch kicks.
Yes.
We need more step ball changes. Maybe we just call it Broadway Dinosaurs, and we just get all of the old Broadway actors in there, and we go through a time warp of Broadway performances gone past.
Yes, it's like a Madame Tussauds meets the Great Movie Ride meets Broadway experience.
I love this. Just get rid of all the dinosaurs in Dinosaur and throw in a Cheetah Rivera.
Yes. Yes, I love it. Yeah.
From the Cretaceous period. A Bernadette Peters.
Bernadette Peters has to be there. Is the big red dinosaur, is that a Carnotaur? Is that what it's called?
Sure, why ever not?
Just imagine Carol Channing's head on that giant dinosaur.
See, I think it would be more like a Patti LuPone or an Ethel Merman belting at you at the end of it. Just
yeah.
Wah! And everyone screams. That's the photo right there.
But there would be no photos because we know how Patti LuPone feels about any kind of recording device at a performance.
She's in every scene telling people to put their cell phones away. It is rude. It is disrespectful.
Maybe Patti LuPone is the asteroid that's hurtling towards Earth.
Patti LuPone in T-10. They're not going to make it.
That will do it for this episode of Gaze Do the D. Thanks for listening. To become a patron of the podcast, visit our website at gazedothed.com/donate. For a donation of any amount, you can receive exclusive Gaze Do the D content and help us continue to bring you the very best Disney news and discussion. Continue the conversation after this episode on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter at GDTD Podcast, and submit your questions or show ideas to info@gazedothed.com. Have a great week, everybody. See you real soon.